Welcome back to Reality NSFW and our coverage of Big Brother Canada Season 9. This has been a really exciting 24 hours or so for me. Last night, I got to talk with the iconic Big Brother podcaster, Brent Walgamot. And tonight, what better? Let's get an iconic Big Brother Canada contestant. Let's bring Peter Brown on. Peter, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I don't know about icon. The only icons here are Macho Man Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, but I'm at least a person. So okay. I'll try to give you the best I can.
That'll do. The Shield's iconic, so we'll take it.
That's right. Bam!
So, Peter, before we jump into this episode, I would love to get some of your rapid-fire reactions to some changes we're seeing this season, to some new elements. What are your thoughts on the team twist right off the bat?
I love Survivor. I also love Big Brother. I like them both for different reasons. It kind of feels like this season of Big Brother Canada has a lot of Survivor influence, which to me is a little counter to the structure of the traditional game. And as a traditionalist, I'm a little skeptical. However, I think there's a lot of interesting things that could happen from it, as we saw in tonight's episode. Forming alliances, making strategies based on, normal Big Brother ebbs and flows might end up biting some people in the butt because of this new team twist. So it's a little bit of a wait and see. I do love that there were several people on the block and that everybody voted. That's a very Big Brother UK style thing. Wouldn't be mad if that continued. So it's been an interesting start to the season.
Yeah, I love the idea of the team twist. I don't know how well executed it is, and I don't know how long it's going to be here. I mean, I'm thinking of Survivor One World, where you have all these people from different sides running around on the same beach. That sort of works because it was men versus women, and also because they're wearing the buffs, so I can visually see who is where. This episode, I'm taking notes to podcast about it, and I was struggling to remember who was where and who was in what alliance and what sub-alliance was dealing with multiple defenders and destinies. And, my notes are all over the place, so I can't even imagine a casual viewer tuning in who doesn't already know all these people.
That's a great point. There's there's something that happens in Big Brother UK shows where, you'll cut to three people having a conversation, and regardless of when in the season, their name will appear beside them. Mm-hmm. Just so if you happen to be flipping through or you're not watching every week or whatever, you at least know that, okay, this is Peter talking right now. I think Big Brother Canada, for the reasons that you just outlined, I think there's some value in adding some kind of a visual representation of, okay, this is Rohan, he's team defender, just so that there's some understanding and communication between the show and the audience to keep everything clear, because yes, it does get a little confusing.
Yeah, I would love that. Another thing that is a little visually confusing, the house and all of this greenery blowing around all over the place. What are your thoughts on the house this year? Because you played in a very different house from this one.
Look, I love the Big Brother Canada One house. I enjoyed that we didn't have really a theme. Our theme was just Big Brother house. And I really loved the layout of our house and that it had multiple levels. Our living room was sunken in. Then you had a singular area for the dining room table, and then the kitchen was elevated, it extended to the patio area, and then there was a backyard, and then there was the hot tub area. I loved the original layout of the Big Brother Canada house. These new houses, I feel like, are just very flat. The walls and stuff are usually very beautiful. I like the concept of the overgrown apocalyptic, Big Brother house. We've never seen that before. The execution is maybe not my favorite Big Brother Canada house, but as a concept, it was abandoned, it got overgrown, now we're throwing new people in. That's actually really cool. We've never seen that in Big Brother before. However, I feel like the Big Brother Canada 8 group are feeling a little overwritten, so to speak, because a lot of the verbiage in the show is rewrite, redo, going back, getting it right. So in some ways, this almost feels like, an alternate reality Big Brother Canada 8. And that I feel a little bad for that group because they really got the short end of the stick. And so much of the promotion was we're bringing back champions and they were doing teams. So many people thought it was going to be like newbies versus the season 8 group. And so, I don't know, there's a few things that I feel like are a little jabbing the knife in. But I don't know. That's Big Brother. Big Brother's cruel, man. She's a cruel beast.
Yeah, I'm still holding out for two of those BB-8 8s coming back. I don't know. I'm shocked we didn't hear anything about it at the end of tonight's episode. I thought that was going to be the keep on watching next week little cliffhanger we got, but no, I always think about your house that you played in. So I teach literature and I always teach 1984, and we look at Big Brother in my literature class, and I show them the first episode of Big Brother Canada season 1.
Cool.
It's such a trip going back and seeing that house versus what they do now.
Yeah.
The production is so different, but it's really good. Speaking of that production, Arissa Cox is now a producer on the show. What impact do you think that's going to have?
Oh, a lot. I mean, Arissa is a huge fan of the show. I mean, and just the concept in general, the underlying philosophy of what a Big Brother game experience and presentation is supposed to be. I mean, I had 3 wonderful years of working side by side with Arissa during the sideshow. Learned so much from her about, making television. And, she would text me in the middle of the night. Oh my God, are you seeing what's going on the feeds? Like, this person just turned on that person. The information got out, whatever it is. Like, she is a diehard. She is a true, authentic, genuine fan of the show, the overall experience. She gets it. We would have so many conversations about, what it's like to be a house guest from, our internal perspective, the craziness, the mind warp that you go through after the show. So this is a person who truly gets it from every perspective. And now she's having her voice heard. Aaron and Trevor and Eric are all brilliant, wonderful producers. But to have that extra balance in there of Arissa as well, I'm sure it's a very creative room. And I know Arissa's a big Survivor fan, so I have a weird feeling that her love of Survivor is what's like influencing some of the more unique elements of Big Brother Canada 9. But I mean, that's just me speculating.
Yeah. I hope that's the case, and I hope we've got some more creative twists coming along in that vein. I think they have a lot they can do with it. My last rapid-fire question for you. I don't know if you want to share any insider information with us. Will Marsha the Moose be making an appearance this season? Have you heard from Marsha?
I have not heard from Marsha lately. I still try to keep in regular contact with Marge, but Marsha, she's tough to get a hold of. But I would have to expect that we will be seeing Marsha the Moose this year because, if there is a main character of Big Brother Canada that's not Arissa, it's got to be Marsha. I think she's probably, one of the most popular elements to come out of BBCAN. And it's always interesting to see who Marsha chooses for her special missions. What lucky house guest will join Club Marsha? So that's definitely something that I'm always excited to look out for during the season.
Yeah, my early prediction is that Josh may get a visit from Marsha the Moose. That seems to be like it would be hilarious.
Like that dynamic, I think would be really compelling. Josh is I don't know how long he is for this world of Big Brother. I don't know if he's the most competent Big Brother player. He seems like he's a little nervous. He is a self-admitted outsider in his real life. I'm not sure he's got the chops for this one, but to see that interaction, his maybe nervous, awkward energy with Marsha could be fun.
Yeah, I've never seen a Big Brother player like him. He's very aloof. I'm a big fan of his diary room style of just sort of trailing off and confusing himself whatever he's saying. But getting into the episode, so we come in and Team Defenders up for eviction. So we've got Rowan, Braden, Julie, Josh, Latoya, and Jed. I did not have Julie on my radar as going home here. What are you shocked?
I'm genuinely very shocked that Julie has been sent packing episode 2, I guess, week 1. It just goes to show, like, to the best of my understanding, Julie is a huge fan of the show. Has watched it for several years, has tried really hard to get in. And from that perspective, if all that's true, which I believe that it is, that breaks my heart, man. Like, someone who really loves it and really wants to be a part of it, and they get in there for a week and it just doesn't go their way. It's a bad bounce. It's maybe played a little too hard, tried to make a little too many alliances, was a little too vocal, whatever it is. This weird thing that happens where, you get in that environment, and on the TV show version, everything moves so quickly. But in the house, everything moves really, really slow. And you have to remember that, like, you've got to pick your spots. And maybe Julie just tried to be too active too early. But yeah, she seems very likable, easy to get along with, been a competent alliance member. Like, it doesn't appear as though she'd be like a physical threat. So like there's value in keeping someone around that you could conceivably beat in those kind of competitions. So it definitely threw me for a loop that she's out of there. But that's Big Brother, you never know what you're going to get once you step through those doors.
Yeah, when I was talking with Brent last night, we were looking at Rowan, we were looking at Braden potentially, hopefully not, and we were pretty set on Josh being a problem here, but no. But anyways, we get some early alliance formation we get to see. We hear some thoughts from the big challenge competitors, which were Victoria and Rowan, about how they feel pretty safe. They're both holding back. I think that's a smart move for the people who showed themselves in the competition. And then we get Josh, who gives this diary room with the insanely long pauses, the screwed up facial expressions of what am I even talking about here? I thought this was his gotta go moment. As soon as he gives that confessional, oh, this guy's a goof. He's apparently been goofing the whole time he came in, and they're setting him up for a fall here.
Yeah, he would conventional editing logic might have suggested that he was going to be our boot candidate for a week, and he got a few votes for sure. He was in the discussion. Look, I'm not going to complain that we get to see more of Josh and how he evolves as an aloof individual in this extraordinary environment. I think he could have some comedy, and I love that they're letting one thing about Big Brother Canada that is superior. Well, there are many things that are superior to Big Brother USA, but one of the things that really is, I think, important is, for the most part, they let their diary rooms be authentic. Mm-hmm. Some people are better at diary rooms than others. And sometimes they have to be coached or, take their big idea and turn it into a soundbite, what have you. But I love that they're letting him just sort of be himself. We don't need diary rooms to be overproduced and dramatic and soundbitey all the time. It's nice and refreshing to just have them be an authentic representation of what an individual is thinking in that moment in time, reflective of, what's happening in the game.
I mean, yeah, the last few seasons of Big Brother US, I would have killed for authentic confessionals. I think we maybe had some with Kaser coming back. That was about as close as we could get recently.
Yep.
But the first big alliance we see starting to form here is Jed and Tyshawn talking about they want a strength-based alliance and they want to pull in LaToya. Mm-hmm. I think this is a genius idea. We saw Tyshawn pre-gaming say he didn't want to bro down. He didn't want to have an all-guys alliance. He wants to get a girl in the mix. And how wise that was, as we see later on, that Julie is coming in saying there's fear of an all-guys alliance, and LaToya is in that conversation. What are your thoughts on this let's get all the strong people together move?
Well, that's a pretty conventional Big Brother strategy. I mean, you're not surprising anyone with that, but it is effective generally. And I think they put together three pretty competent people. LaToya, though, at the end of the episode, not to fast forward too much, but man, she put it on Front Street. I was like, whoa, that's a bold, I don't know, man. I like her. I think she's a really interesting house guest. Very dynamic. Her bullet list of the things that she does is, most people are like, oh, I'm an unemployed so-and-so, or I work at the bank. She's 5 things, really interesting cast. But man, for a week one, she would put it out hard. But yeah, 3 strong, competent, physical, intelligent people. That's a great measure of protection against the rest of the house to form early. And yes, so much is timing. If they would have had that conversation, a day later or even a few hours later, we don't know exactly the chronology of things in terms of the edit, from day to day. But, if LaToya wasn't in that alliance, when they were all discussing in the pantry, maybe Julie stays. There's just so many things that you can never anticipate, or you've always got to be wary of who's in the room and who's listening and who are they talking to earlier, and you have to remember so many days in advance of or from behind rather of okay, who did they spend a lot of time with yesterday, and did they go off, when did I lose track of them, have they been buddy with, who are they eating with? There's so many little things that you would never think of and do not get addressed on the show. And then something so simple as that, it's just everybody gets in the pantry. Maybe you're going for a bite. You decide to do an alliance stock. Boom, you say the wrong person or the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, and suddenly you're gone.
Yeah, there's these 2 big bogeymen of reality TV. It's the All Girls Alliance and the Alpha Bro Alliance.
Yeah.
And it seems like every time you get a messenger coming in saying, hey, I'm afraid there's an All Girls Alliance, I'm afraid there's an Alpha Bro Alliance, they shoot the messenger every time. I think the advice is don't spread that fear. Keep it to yourself. Maybe talk it one-on-one with someone you really feel like you can trust. But don't go to a large group and do that because someone's probably in that alliance.
Yeah, large groups, especially early on in the game, are very risky. As you very correctly pointed out, the one-on-ones are good. Even better is to try to get somebody else to point it out. If you got the idea, dang, I think there might be a kind of group forming over here. Remember when that group did this a few seasons ago? Maybe these 4 people, yada, yada, yada. Boom. You get somebody else. If somebody's going to vocalize that to a large group of people, you want to make sure that it's not you. That's a little bit of a rookie mistake for sure. Maybe shows some naivete, but it's so strange. The first week that you're in there, you don't know anyone, obviously, and you're so eager to get to know people. And so you want to trust them, and you want to be able to put your trust in them, because playing the game by yourself is unimaginably difficult. Like, it's very hard and rare for people to go through a Big Brother experience, essentially playing on like a true solo game. You need friends, you need allies, you need trustworthy people. And maybe Julie was just a little too trusting in that room.
Yeah, I mean, not only do these people want to put themselves out there, if you're a super fan, you want to make these moves. You've been locked up from COVID probably for a few months. You want to talk to people. You love getting in these spaces now. It's a lot of pressure for a lot of these players. They did, however, in this meeting, speaking more of how good I think Jed, Tyshawn, and Latoya are working together, is they kind of got at what I was saying last night, which is like the immediate flaw I see with this team voting thing, which is the winning team can just dictate who goes home every time because they have more votes than the other side, which is inherently going to be split because it's going to be between 2 of them. I don't really know what BBCAN's doing or if they're going to plan on mixing up teams at some point, but that feels like a pretty big production flaw to me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the desire to want to create an inherent split house, but I have to remember that even if we are only considering Big Brother Canada, there's at least 8 seasons of, built-in traditional strategies and methodologies and perspectives on the game. So you try to shoehorn in an inorganic split house, and what you see is A, you've got people crossing over already, and B, like you said, it becomes so much more of a competition-based game because the team that's winning all the time, just like in Survivor, they're going to be able to dictate the pace. I don't love that, because I think Big Brother should be a social game first, and the competition should, as I said earlier, the personal connections inform the alliance decisions, which give weight to the competitions. It's sort of working in reverse now, and from a personal viewership perspective, that's not what I watch Big Brother for. I thought this episode was great, and the real life moments that they touched on, which I'm sure we'll get to, but generally speaking, yeah, I'm not a fan of weighting too much towards competitions, and that's exactly what this team split is I think going to do. Will they probably start swapping them around and do like maybe a redraft or a swap? I'm sure inevitably they'll merge, even though it's awkward because the bedrooms still have they've been so insistent upon the branding, even within the house of Team Defender and Team Destiny. That makes me think it's going to be around for more than we're expecting. So there's going to have to be some flip-flops and swaps. Just as a small note, I thought, look, when we knew they were going to do a schoolyard pick'em, I thought they did it in the most conventional way possible, because everybody's been part of a schoolyard pick'em and everyone's seen that version of a schoolyard pick'em before. I thought it could have been interesting. You had Tina and Kiefer in that room, and they put 2 people, 2 big guys and 2 pretty girls in first. Like, okay, this is how they're going to balance the teams. Each one of them will have to pick a big dude and a pretty girl. Okay, then the next 4 come in. It's like the weird guys and the quirky people, whatever. You know what I mean? And then so all the teams are kind of authentically balanced if they're picking from the available house guests as they're entering the house. They didn't do that. And then I thought another interesting idea might be, okay, well, the last 2 people, if you're going to do conventional schoolyard pick them, then the last 2 people, maybe they're immune too, or they get $5,000 or whatever the heck. They get some kind of incentive. But I thought the most interesting way to approach it is you do an inverted schoolyard pick 'em. So Kiefer would pick Tina's team and Tina would pick Kiefer's team. That way you're sort of picking the worst first and trying to strategically narrow it down to take the best pick for last. And that creates more drama and intrigue and conflict. And so I think there are different ways that you can make the team thing work, but the way that it is now and the over-reliance on competition wins, maybe not my favorite.
No, I love that idea. And if Big Brother Canada was thinking, that's too confusing for viewers, guess what? It's already too confusing. You've got this deal where, this captain's immune, but that captain votes to break a tie. It's already confusing. Just embrace it for the drama. That's what we're here for. You talked about how embedded these team names are. We've got Destiny and Defender. Peter, you're a writer as well. We've both published novels. Why did they decide on those words? I hate them.
Look, I was a Team Doom guy from day one. The leak, I was like, Team Doom, that's it. I'm ready to go. They called Alec the Emperor of Doom in season 1, even though I don't think it ever made the show, but it was a joke between Andrew, AJ, and myself. So I was ready to go for Team Doom. I don't know. Team Defender would make sense if they were former house guests defending the stronghold. And Team Destiny would make sense if it was a new group trying to rewrite history. So that way it makes sense. It's just completely random. Like the assignment, it was a vote. So it's not like they were assigned Team Destiny. It's not like Kiefer was the defender and it's Tina's Destiny. No, it was a fan vote, randomly assigned teams, and then a schoolyard pick 'em. There's no they should have picked their own teams, maybe, or they've got the color coded thing and they get to pick their own. But it's I don't know. I just don't. There's no. You referenced 1984 earlier. There's no element of 1984 in there. There's no Big Brother isms in Destiny and Defender. They just seem like arbitrary names at this point, but maybe there will be a reveal. Maybe there will be something special. Maybe there's a twist or a power that only a Defender, a team member can get, and maybe there's something that only a Team Destiny member can get. That might give us some narrative through line of why these were chosen, but as of right now, they just seem arbitrary.
Yeah, there has to be something. I have too much faith in Big Brother Canada and how flawlessly Big Brother Canada pulls off its themes. There's no way these words were randomly chosen because they're not even oppositional. It's not even like heroes and villains, future and past. No, it's just Destiny and Defender. If I had to make a guess, we are going to get a former house guest who is potentially a winner or did quite well, and they are the defender of Big Brother Canada Legacy. Right. And I think we are going to get a Big Brother Canada 8 returning player who is the Destiny, who is here to fulfill their destiny, and that is why we have those words. But that is just my guess. I have no idea. That's the only way I can make sense of those words.
I love that idea. Refresh my memory. What week did they do the vote for the two house guests in season 7? Because they did it was Holly and the girl got in whose name currently escapes me. What was her name? Anyway, but it wasn't week 1. I feel like it was the end of week 2. Yeah. Tim and Nikki entered at the end of week 2. So it's still possible that we're going to get that vote coming in throughout the week. I hope so, sort of. 14 just seems like it's the smallest season ever for Canada. Yeah. Maybe it's a COVID thing, though. It's very possible that they're well, the limit is 14. Sorry. There's no pre-jury buyback. I can confirm that because I know that Julie has been in contact with a fellow alumni.
Okay.
So if anyone is hoping for Julie to go back, I'm very sorry, rumor killer on that. I would have loved to see her get the opportunity to do a battle back as well. But yeah, 14 and 10 weeks. That is traditional Big Brother. That's normally how it would go. 12 or 14 over about 10 weeks for the early American seasons anyway. There's a lot of speculation, of course, within the community that they're going to be people back. But I got everyone's number and I can call them all right now. If we just go through the Rolodex and be hey, you pick up, you there, you're not. We can find out today. But there's a few people that I would love to see in those Destiny and Defender positions as alumni. And again, I talked to them today and they ain't there. So
yeah. No, and I know last night on the podcast, Brent threw out Chelsea Bird. Chelsea Bird is pregnant.
She's very pregnant, yeah.
That is not happening. That is not going to come to fruition. So I'm really big on the website design theory on this, which is no matter how you resize the Big Brother Canada website, there are always 2 blank spots. Yes. So there's definitely 2 spots there. Yeah. I think they're going to get 2 people out. So 2 of the current cast will leave, and then we're going to vote Well, Canada will vote. I won't get to. Between two former successful house guests and two BBCAN 8 house guests, and they're going to take their spots on the website. So the two people who are gone will leave, and we're going to have 4 new pictures in there. That's why there's only 2 gaps right now. That would be my only guess as to why we haven't seen it yet, and there are these obvious gaps in the website.
You know what's so funny, though? So I agree with you. I think that's a reasonable and interesting evaluation of the website design. If I were the web team, and I know how much people speculate about this show, because it's in real time, and there's always twists, and there's always secrets and dynamic, and people going through the code of the website to find out what they can see and what's hidden, and yada yada yada. I would screw with them. I would put those 2 empty blocks in just to be like, look, they're gonna think it's this. It's not. I don't know if that's a great idea, because setting up a false expectation only for it to be even if it's something that was never going to happen, the fans have decided internally, I'm with you. I believe we're going to see extra bodies in that house.
Yeah.
Whether we are or we aren't, if we don't, I'm going to be disappointed because of something that I assumed was going to happen that was probably never in the cards. And so production can really screw with people. I used to give out ideas all the time about how, ways that you could have fun with the website. And one way that I thought, you always see the same photos every week of the people. And it's everyone's smiling and blah, 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 whatever. But Big Brother's a real-time show. And so it could be cool, I thought, if, for example, everyone has a neutral photo. And then when someone's in power, you go and they have a strong or happy their photo. If they're nominated, it's worried photo. That way, the photos, you go to the website, you can see right away, oh man, this person looks worried, they're in trouble with the game. This person looks powerful, they've obviously got some influence in the game. I thought there were some cool ways that you could kind of make, again, the visual language of the website communicate to the viewership what's happening in real time on the show, but they didn't seem to take my ideas.
No, I love that idea. And if someone in the web design team is fucking with us all, and I have been down all these crazy conspiracy theories, I hope that's true. And if you did that and you ever hear this web design guy, please hit me up. I would love to talk to you on air. That's fantastic. There's also potentially a self-fulfilling prophecy, though. If you did that, Arissa's all of a sudden like, crap, we have to bring 2 people back or we're letting everyone down. So, yeah. As fun as that is, we get some really fun scenes on the episode. We get slop time, and we get, I think, is Kiefer quoting Gary? Kiefer says, "My life is gourmet."
That is a Gary Glitter original line. Gary didn't look. Nobody likes slop except for Jillian. Jillian actually enjoyed eating slop, which blew my mind. But slop is disgusting. It is fine once or twice. The problem is that you have to eat it 3 times a day for 7 days. That's 21. Your head goes, okay, I got to do this 21 times. Well, everybody else is eating these wonderful, I don't even like eating. And it's still annoying to watch, people make meals and you just have this goop that you have to eat so much of to get your minimum daily intake of vitamins and calories and it's nutritionally substantive, but you have to eat so much of it and nobody ever does. The slop always sucks, especially that first time. I don't envy them at all.
No, that was a lot of fun. And then we get to see in the bathroom, Tina, Victoria, and Beth are all bonding. Victoria likes it so much, she jumps out of the shower.
There was a shower incident in season 1 that was not met with as much laughs.
Wow. That would be met very differently, I think, in 2021.
Yeah. But this one was definitely received with bushels of laughs, if you will. And that's great. Look, I love, like I said, personality informed strategy, which gives weight to the competitions. And what I didn't like the premiere because I felt it was, here's the bios, here's the twist, here's the comedy. Okay. That's not really what I watch Big Brother for. So this episode totally redeemed itself because we got so much of just the people being people. And we saw these fun moments, the moments of levity, the moments of them just bopping into each other as humans ordinary people in an extraordinary environment, and just those gut-busting laughs that bring you to tears, and those moments of sincerity and the loopiness that you go through. Big Brother is a truly beautiful experience, and I'm always very happy to see people enjoying themselves, especially at the early part of the game, before things get real wacky in the head region.
Yeah, I love that. This is why I'm watching reality TV, right? I want the reality TV. I mean, the strategy is great. That also makes it a really compelling show. But when it becomes just strategy TV, that's not good enough. I need to actually care about these characters, and they're doing a great job this episode. And I know that Julie, I'm going to have this problem. There's a character named Julie, and there's Arissa, and I'm so used to talking BBUS.
Yeah.
I know Arissa cares about that character development too, and I love that is just becoming a huge centerpiece for this. It's what she's talking to Julie about as she exits, is about how she got to express her character and talk about her transition on national television. It's amazing. We see the dolls form, which never comes of anything, but that's a blast. We get to see the team bonding, and then we get to what I think is maybe the most profound moment of the TV show, which is the Never Have I Ever game, followed up by the talking about language and culture. And this segment for like 15 minutes, this was some of the most riveting television. I cried twice. I'm just so impressed with Big Brother Canada. We get these LGBTQ plus coming out stories. 1/3 of this house is on that LGBTQ plus spectrum. That's amazing. And Julie gets to talk about her transition and the power that this cast can achieve through its representation. What was going through your mind as you're watching this? This is such a different Big Brother Canada cast than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, like you said, it was really beautiful to watch. And I think what, Big Brother as a core concept is always meant to be. Like, you go back all the way to Big Brother USA 2. And I think one of the most interesting stories that we've ever seen on a season of Big Brother is the Kent and Bunky story.
Yeah.
And, you've got, for those who don't know or have never seen it, you've got this kind of middle-aged, grumpy, right-wing guy who's very homophobic, like seems to be genuinely homophobic. And then you have Bunky, who's, pretty much the most lovable guy you could ever meet in your life. Like, I love Bunky. I always like running into him at events and stuff. And they form a friendship, and then Kent finds out that Bunky is gay. And through their already established friendship, Kent grows and learns and changes, and him and Bunky become best friends long after the show, up until Kent's unfortunate passing away a few years ago. So now, here we've got these beautiful moments in Big Brother Canada, people sharing stories about their lives and their upbringings. And, it's like, we're not so different in the end. It's like, you're part of this group, I'm part of that group. You have this perspective, I have that perspective. But being a house guest is the great equalizer, because ultimately it's not going to matter, what your ethnic makeup is, what's between your legs, what your sexual preference is, what your political or philosophical preference is, or position rather, and who you pray to, like all of that stuff, that's what you are, not who you are. And these are all individuals learning about who each other is and embracing it. And there's no judgment and no negativity. And it's just about, the sharing of lives and the coming together of people who would have in no other circumstance ever interacted before. And they're going to be, not entirely, but, pockets of them will be friends for the remainder of their lives. I'm people that I talk to every day. If I go through like my phone right now, do this in real time. The last people that I talk to on my phone: Adam Pike, Sarah Miller, Anil Ramksoon, Liza Stinton, Alec Beal, Allison White, Jesse Larson, Godfrey Mangwiza, Sheldon Jean, Greg Merritt, Alex Willett. Boom. Like, they're all Big Brother people. Like, that's just going through my recent texts.
I think you haven't texted anyone in a very long time, and that's why Sheldon's name's there, right? You text like one person every other day. That's all right.
If Sheldon, I love Sheldon. He's one of them. I've never met. Look, this is how much I love Sheldon. And this has how much being part of the Big Brother community will bond you, whether you meet or not. because I've never met Sheldon personally. I've never even spoken to him on the phone. And I consider him a genuine good friend because of the amount that we've talked together about Big Brother and wrestling and everything else in the world that's going on over the past year. Like, I really like this guy. I think he's wonderful, smart, driven, really cool person, and that I'm happy to have met through the Big Brother world. And that's it. Like, that's what the whole thing is about. Like, there's 139 of us now. That's not a real big number of people that have gone through this shared experience. And that's what it's all about, is like, you can connect to someone simply because you have that underlying connection, regardless of whether you played with them, you've met them, you're even from the same country. Like, I've got friends from Big Brother UK and Big Brother Australia that, because it's you're part of this community. And that's why I'm always so happy to see, people embracing it and loving it and really cherishing it.
Yeah, I think Big Brother Canada does it so well. And, thank you so much to all these contestants who are opening up on air. I think everyone who's watching this is a better person. Latoya, Josh, like Latoya comes out as bi on air. That's incredible. Yeah, like Big Brother Canada couldn't write that. That's so good. And then we get to see some of the house guests in the bedroom talking about their place of origin. We hear some about Latoya being born in, I think she said, Jamaica. And then Kiefer talks about the Haida language. And he actually speaks in Haida for a while. And man, I am right there with them. I had goosebumps. This is a beautiful language. And I'm struggling to learn Arabic right now, which I feel like is very difficult. This is a whole new level. That is such a beautiful, unique language, like one I've not heard on television before. And that was really cool to have Kiefer get to share that.
Yeah, Kiefer's one of my, he's actually probably my favorite character so far. I thought he was really funny in the first episode. And then you get this really touching moment in episode 2 of him getting to share something that I'm sure not very many ears have heard in quite some time. You said, didn't you say there are only 5 speakers of it?
Yeah.
So that's wild, man. Like that's a genuine, you don't find that every day kind of thing. So he's a really he's one to watch for me, genuinely. He's a bit of a heavier guy, but it is a mental game in the end. And if he's charming, unassuming, smart, funny, that's a pretty lethal combination for a Big Brother player. So I'm hopeful that he's able to slide himself into a good spot with a competent group. He might be on the opposite end of that, strong person alliance, which is normally the case in a season of Big Brother. But maybe the meek will inherit the earth this time around.
Yeah, I mean, he's also clearly beloved by Canada. He got voted to be one of the captains. He's got the mullet.
Yeah, it's a great mullet.
It's not a bad thing to have Canada love you. Sometimes Canada gets an HOH, so you never know.
That's right.
That's a good thing for Kiefer going forward. I hope Canada helps him out. Up to the vote, and we get the Josh is in danger narrative, and he starts to tell Julie that it's Pretty Boys 2.0, which I think is a good move. What do you think about what Josh is doing here?
Well, so I'm not sure. So I was watching the episode with Mumsy, Sarah Miller, and we both kind of were like, I don't know, because it seemed like he was trying to target the strong people. And generally, in the early point of the game, there is this kind of philosophy of Big Brother is you keep the strong alive so that they're shields for you. And I think even someone makes reference to that. I can't recall who, but someone acknowledges that as a conventional.
Beth, I believe.
So vocalizing hey, I think there's strong people. We should go against the strong people. Normally, the strong people are the first to band together, which means they're likely going to have the tightest bond. And when they find out that, okay, we've got this outsider coming for us, got to cut that off right away. Which again, the edit was maybe sort of suggesting. So, I don't know that he's. However, so I don't think that it was maybe the right perspective to have, but the kind of the initiative behind it is correct. If there is a clearly identifiable collection of people forming, they would numerically be in the minority. because we got 3, maybe they'll grow to 4, but that's there's 14 of them in there at the time. You've got 10 other people who could conceivably go against that. And generally, once 1 or 2 goes, it's like, ooh, we got to start looking elsewhere now. It's like big alliances are intimidating when they're big, but you get one of that. So from a GameBot perspective, yes, that I agree. If you can recognize that, that's a good move. But his execution, I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be a strategic mastermind Big Brother player.
No, I feel like he needs like a flannel shirt tied around his waist and like a cigarette.
Yes.
He's just going to be posted up on the wall. Like people just, and he goes, hey, Pretty Boys 2.0.
Yeah, I love that. He could definitely feel that 90s grunge vibe in the house, or just like the aloof outsider, just like silently contemplating to himself in the hot tub area at night. Like, dude, I'm all down for that being his characterization throughout the season.
Oh, it's so good. So Julie brings that information back, as we said, and exposes it to LaToya. Julie's looking awfully panicky here. As you said, the best move is to get someone else to make these declarations for you. Josh, unfortunately, I think unintentionally got Julie to run around and take.
There you go.
Yeah. So in the final moments before the vote, we hear Rowan's name coming up. I never really thought that was an option here. I'm impressed that he faded into the background as much as he did. What are your thoughts on him?
I like him. He's also one of my favorite characters so far too. He showed his value. He demonstrated his value to his alliance in the competition. And which is great, and that they brought that up. It's like, okay, like, because they don't know, like there's so many, there hasn't been an HOH yet, there hasn't been a veto yet. As far as they understand, it's just going to be team competitions for a long time. And like what you do once on night 1, the first thing, that's going to leave a pretty bold impression. So hats off to him for staying around as long as he did. That's going to extend his life a little bit in the house. And he's a very confident guy. Verging on cocky even perhaps, but he seems like he's an intelligent, well put together person. Does seem to be a little bit on the outs, somewhat, but if he can just stay around for long enough, I think he could definitely do some damage, because he seems like it could be a pretty observant dude.
Yeah, again, like I said, I'm impressed. I thought he was definitely going to be on the outside there as he was getting picked towards the end, as he just looks like an evil mastermind.
Right, exactly.
AJ from your season, he's like so slicked back, and you're like, you don't want to work with that guy.
Dude, it's funny you say, I love it. AJ's one of my favorite people ever. So the first group that went in the house for season 1, we got a little bit of spoiler because on the memory wall, they had all of the photos of everybody. So we got to see the whole cast before the other 2 groups came in. And I remember looking at AJ's biopic, and he just looks so suave and debonair, and he's got this nice like tan jacket. He's slick. He just looks like this is one calculated dude. He's going to be the one to watch. This is the strategic mastermind. Like, this is going to be the star of the show. Like, he's going to go first. And then he comes in the stairs, and he's like all just like, slick business guy. I'm like, oh man, like, can't believe it. And then he turns out to be this like lovable goofball. Yeah. So Rowan definitely got. I said to Sarah, I was like, he's AJ plus Alec from my seat. I was like, feels like the character combo. If you were to merge those 2 people, who are, obviously I love both of them, into Rohit, I feel like that's the Big Brother love child of the 2 of those guys.
I like that. I can definitely see that combo. Yeah, wow. I'm trying to imagine what an AJ Alec combo. What does that end game look like? The next scene we see is again Julie and LaToya here that I want to talk about, and LaToya is not having it. Julie comes to her again with some similar concerns, and LaToya will not entertain it and says, "No, I'm going to the hot tub."
Right? Yeah, I'm bouncing.
For LaToya's game, is this really bad for her?
Yeah. I was really high on her. Basically up until the 3/4 point of this episode. Just a little too bulldozy, especially early on. Look, she got her way. Like, cool, awesome, like, great. Very rarely do those like tough as nails, bulldoze type Big Brother players. Normally, they're not long for this world. However, she's a unique person, like Black female cop who also designs their own swimwear and is like a runway model. Okay, that's a pretty unique combination. She's a really cool, and bisexual, that we found out in the episode. Really cool, really dynamic. But from a Big Brother, so Big Brother is so much about how you make people feel.
Yes.
And this is easy to do. Like, as you said before, Julie looked, a little scared, trepidatious, like vulnerable equals weakness in Big Brother. And you pounce on that, and they did, and they got her out. Okay.
Yeah.
Good job, team. So that's okay to do if you recognize that somebody is on the way out. Usually, not always, and I wouldn't generally recommend it because you never know. Someone could come back, could be you never really know. You always got to hedge your bet a little bit. But if this is her attitude and her demeanor towards people who are vulnerable, and LaToya starts to be successful in the game, then that's going to start expanding the people who are not vulnerable and that are just potential allies. And if she starts to get on a bit of a run, then that type of behavior, if you start rubbing you start rubbing people the wrong way long enough, that might end up working against her in the inevitability, because everybody is, of course, vulnerable at some point, or with very little exception anyway, later down the road in the game.
Yeah, I think this is potentially her downside. Is she is so multifaceted and amazing, and I'm so impressed with her. She's also used to being in charge all the time. And I wonder how bad that's going to go when, as soon as she has someone coming to talk to her when she doesn't want to talk, and this is how she's shutting them down.
Yeah.
Very confrontationally. I guess not. I guess passive aggressively of just saying, no, I'm leaving.
Right. Just about peace out.
I
never see that.
Yeah, I've never seen that Big Brother strategy again. Her and Josh bringing new stuff to the table.
Right.
I didn't know was a strategy. Speaking of stuff I didn't know was going on, we get to the vote. But before we do, there's this anonymous question segment. What are your thoughts on the anonymous question across team as a production dynamic, as part of the game?
Well, it almost seems as though they were assembling together in a tribal sort of way to conduct a council of sorts. It really sort of felt like that. And man, those questions were point blank, zone in, lay it on the line. Woo! Like, so much of Big Brother is speaking 3/4 of the truth and avoiding phraseology that'll get you in trouble, and there's so much hedging your bet and stuff. This, wow, like, it forces people to be truthful on the spot, and most people are bad on the spot.
Yeah. So
it has the potential to really adjust the dynamic of how things are going forward, because they just went into an HOH competition after that. We didn't see it in the episode. We'll see it on Monday. But let's say somebody was rubbed the wrong way, or they're like, oh, this person said that, but they said this before, and well, hold on now, where were they lying now? Are they lying? There's lots of opportunity to unravel someone's game. Like if you're really good on the spot in those moments, it's going to be an advantage. If you're bad on the spot, it's going to be a disadvantage. And the anonymity of the whole thing, just adds another layer, because then you have to figure out, well, who asked that question? Why did they want to ask it? Why was it directed at me? So those are new wrinkles to the what's going on, because normally it's like, how you doing? What do you think about the week? Like, didn't you see that funny thing? So the fact that it's a little bit more strategically driven and isn't so fluffy is good. So it's just another thing that they're going to have to adapt to.
Yeah, there's a few things I love about it. Number one is, like you said, people are going to be on a witch hunt at the end of the week of who was asking this question to me? Why were they asking that question to me? Modern Big Brother, we see so many consensus votes where the whole house is going one way. This almost gives us a hinky vote to every person. So every single person has something to be paranoid about. And I love that they're trying to figure out who's coming at them for what reason and why. The other thing I love is how many bad final, I almost just called it Final Tribal. They turned this into Survivor. I did not see this coming. But how many times on finale night do we just see terrible performances by the finalists?
Yep.
Well, that's not going to happen because they've been doing this, answering these questions on the spot week after week after week. They're going to be great by the time they get to the end. They're all going to sell their game and it's going to be fluid, and I love it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that, again, not to compare Big Brother and Survivor, but I think that there could be we should have seen by now, and maybe we will, an evolution in the final jury questioning segment for Big Brother. Since I believe that Survivor is more of a roundtable discussion now.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that Big Brother should be too, because as you perfectly just pointed out, you're in there for 70 odd days, whatever it is, and then you've got 15 seconds to try to encapsulate your game on a question that you've been put on the spot for, and it's nervous and there's so many things going on. If they were just to devote that segment of time in the production of the show to, okay, we're going to do a 20-minute roundtable or 25 minutes or whatever it is, cut a little bit, we don't need to see the jury deliberation. You just you almost make the jury deliberation part of the questioning period.
Exactly.
Because then it's a back and forth. It's not just, what was the biggest move you made? Well, the biggest move I made was I cooked you breakfast that day and whatever. Then it's like, yeah, but you made this move, but then you made that. Like, you can get a dialogue going, and then it's more of then you're still playing off the people. Then it's still a social, because you can be like, okay, when I did this to you, I was lying because I had this alliance with him, and then she was like, whatever it is. I think that's a natural evolution, because Big Brother is such a game of telephone anyway, that to have its natural conclusion be, them sitting around on the couch and being kind of bombarded with, question after question, not just like a one and done of like, tell me when why did you cut me? Okay, great. Like, that's the awesome question. We get these things all the time, and especially the same questions all the time. If it's a discussion, then I think that's more interesting. And like you said, if the more prepared they are for being put on the spot, the better this can be as we get to that end game 10 weeks from now.
Yeah, no, I love the roundtable discussion. I hope they do implement that at some point. Not only are you going to get that jury on the spot along with the finalists on the spot, and you're going to get much more human interaction, as you said. That human interaction creates more emotion, and you might actually get some people changing their vote, because I think every juror is coming in there pretty set in their ways. And sometimes finalists come in and drop bombs. I think that if you have a roundtable discussion, Godfrey Manguiza might be a Big Brother Canada winner.
Yep.
So I think that's a good way to fix some people feeling as Arissa would say, some kind of way about the winner you get this season. Honestly, I think all these people did very well handling these questions, though. I didn't see any issues. I mean, Josh, I guess, didn't answer well. He just said, no, I was paranoid, which is maybe a little truncated for what you'd want to hear. However, this is so his character, and I love it. And anyone who was like, this guy might be plotting against me, fear not, my friend. He's plotting nothing.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, look, if you're concerned about the vote, and you're like, maybe this guy is an evil mastermind, and then he drops that as the answer, you're like, okay, we're going with the girl who's blowing up everyone's spot. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we knew Julie's time was up as soon as Austin votes. Austin's supposed to be one of the dolls with Julie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she cast the first vote for Julie. Big Brother Canada, that was cruel. I was expecting a slow buildup. You gave us the only ally you showed us, and immediately stabbing her in the front. That was not what we saw coming. That was not what we wanted. But the queen can't play games with commoners, so she's out. That is the story of Julie. What do you write off as her biggest weakness or potential gaffe that cost her the game?
Oh, gosh, it's so hard, especially when you get basically like half of an episode to see. But I mean, by her own admission, when Arissa asked her, what do you think she could have done? It's fight harder. I'm not sure that I agree with that evaluation. I mean, yes, you can always fight harder or whatever, but you don't want to be the center of attention in a negative way in week one. Like, you want to be everyone's friend and friendly, but you wait. It's a long game and a long process. And the more you're at the center of things, the more people are going to talk about you, and especially if it's in a negative way. Like, it was even talked about in the episode, Braden is a great counterexample of this. He's good to keep around because, yes, he's flamboyant and out there and all over the place, but he's not doesn't seem to be in people's business. So that's a good person to deflect attention away from you or whatever. So it's like a loud, vibrant personality is good. Julie had that loud, vibrant personality, but was seen as, maybe doing a little too much, too many whispers, too much in the wrong room at the wrong time. And it's just, people throw around the phrase, play too hard, too fast. I don't think she played too hard, too fast. I don't think that is accurate either, but she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time too many times.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Julie, you did great. You were an awesome personality. I wish you would have done better, but that's okay. These guys will be sticking around for another week, and we will maybe find out who's going to be joining them coming up next. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been a blast. Peter, thank you so much. I am so excited for this season of Big Brother Canada. It was great to get to talk to you and hear some of your thoughts. Do you have anything else?
Look, I'm excited. Look, I'm so happy that the Big Brother Canada production was able to move forward with this season. Of course, as Arissa said, they took every precaution possible. We've seen Big Brother USA do it successfully. Big Brother Brazil, which is apparently a huge phenomenon down there with the whole country voting on stuff. That's so cool. But anyway, whatever. Big Brother Australia is coming back again. Big Brother is able to be played around the world. I'm very happy that Big Brother Canada production was able to put this safety measures in place to give these 14 new house guests an opportunity, a chance at a lifetime. And I'm always excited to see what Big Brother Canada has in store. And I think the next 9 weeks now are going to be super fascinating to see follow. And I hope we see some familiar faces in there. I always loved seeing former house guests get another chance to live their dream. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited for BBCAN. I've got my Labatt Blue stocked up for the whole season. I'm feeling Canadian. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Off air, Peter and I are going to go through his whole phone book and